You could spend it, you could spend it on the same thing that you spend your general fund.
When you
But
say
you have to
add
spend all
on
the
stuff,
treasury each year, exactly. You can't just say we put it in our general.
You're not
fund.
lost.
You could- You spend on paving, we spend on.
yeah, they done all, they went through line item.
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, they've
What
done all
about
that.
the, okay.
That's one of these y'all.
Okay.
Somebody got it.
Well, I'll put it in that.
You don't have to. And well, you're gonna be on camera, go. You can move around. I sat here so I could see. No, you're fine. Hold on. It's cold and damn, it's not that cold, really.
The same. Went to the other building. And next week it's supposed to be like 17.
Promise many of your.
Get the light
Up
out.
there west, there's
Yeah.
snow.
Oh, that's good. I don't mind snow, I can stay at home.
Yeah. Sit back.
Okay, was that?
Watch my daughter from the window, go down the hill.
It's nice, yeah. Okay. You're gonna spend all of it by the end of 2024, and you didn't put anything on that project. That's from Carter.
And
it's thousands.
Probably going to start it last week.
We already done that before the
For
survey.
6 months.
So you did put in 20,000.
Yeah.
But not more than that. Okay.
Yeah, what's going on?
Last week. I'm all this week.
I hope we did. That was before me, that was gone.
Did you, is this the first time?
Yeah, that is.
Well, I didn't know if it was like the first time you like.
It's almost left.
So I did, I was trying to do this. Look at that. There's been a time where like, it does. Okay. I'm gonna send that $1 million. I just wanna make sure that I don't do this. But it has to be required.
So I did cities, and I didn't wanna do the whole county yet, but I didn't know that. Right, and I didn't do it all.
Try to do it on both.
No, the city was doing us. Like what you said. Well, the old one is great. So I don't.
All right. All right, everybody, I think it's 11 o'clock here, so we'll go ahead and get the show on the road.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm Ryan Lipke, the Chair of the Regional Planning Council for KIPDA. This is the Tuesday, January 9th, 2024 meeting. The first action we have on our agenda is to do the member roll call. Rachel?
Okay, Honorable Jerry Summers. Mr. Charlie Spalding. Mr. Keith Griffey. Honorable Scott Bates.
Here.
Mr. Jason Stanley.
Here.
Mike Ray.
Here.
Mr. Ms. Emily Lou. Mr. Tony Parrott. Mr. Mike King. Honorable David Vogel. Mr. Jim Urban. Mr. Brian Fogel. Honorable Dan Eisen.
Here.
Mr. Ryan Libke.
Here.
Mr. Lawrence Blackaby.
He's on mute. He's online.
Honorable Scott Travis.
Here.
Ms. Julie Sweezy. Honorable John Ogburn. Ms. Diana Arnold.
Here.
All right, thank you, Rachel. I believe that's a number of we have a quorum,
Yes, sir.
so we can continue with action on business. So first item on the next item on your agenda is the minutes from the October 10th, 2023 meeting. You should have received those with your email invite and had a chance to review those minutes. So is there any discussion on the minutes? Motion to approve. We have a motion to approve by Judge Ison. Second. Second by Judge Bates. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. The minutes for October 10th, 2023 are approved. All right, next item is our KIPDA updates and from KIPDA staff. So who wants to go first?
Yes, I can kick us off quickly here. Thank you all for coming out today, for our RPC meeting. I'll keep our updates pretty brief. We've been kind of plugging away at some more cleaner water grants. I'm looking to get, some funding for those out the door, very soon for Louisville Water Company. We've got 3 or 4 that should be completed soon. And I've also been working on the, Community Energy and Resiliency Project, which is a project that the ads in the state are partnering with the Energy and Environment Cabinet, and we're collecting some data on the energy resiliency in our region. So basically for critical facilities, what facilities need backup power, what facilities are lacking it, what facilities have it. So I've been working with some of the systems in our region, as well as some individuals, like our emergency managers, to try and collect as much data for that as I can. Again, if that's something that you all are interested in talking with me some more about, or want to try and help me out a little bit more, I could always use more data, since there's thousands of potential critical facilities in our region. But yeah, just kind of wanted to put that on everybody's radar, and that's pretty much all for me. Is anybody else?
I'll say quickly that we're entering a busy grant application season, so Land and Water Conservation Fund, rec trails, assistance to firefighters, some other things are opening soon if they're not already open. So keep an eye out in our newsletter and our funding opportunities we give to the board each month, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have about whatever grants come up.
And I can just provide a little update on the state revolving fund loan, SRF. Worked with all of your all's counties. Every county in our region had several projects that were submitted to the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority and the Kentucky Division of Water. I submitted those on December 15th was the deadline. So I'll be working with Division of Water come up here in the next 2 to 3 weeks on any questions they may have. But yeah, we submitted about 38 applications. So it's a competitive process, but every year I feel like we have a pretty good handle on how that process is functioning now. So we've submitted all those projects on your behalf, and we'll be hearing back soon. And I'll be working with your all's water, wastewater, and stormwater systems to make sure that we stay up to speed on those and get those processed and hopefully get invited for funding.
I know the majority of you all received an invitation from Louisville Metro on a net zero advisory group kickoff meeting, which I think is happening tomorrow. We were just asked to provide contacts for each of our rural counties. All I know for sure is that Louisville Metro received a grant from EPA. I think it's for a study, and they included Jefferson County, all of the counties surrounding Jefferson County, plus I know some in Indiana as well. I think it's Washington, Harrison, Floyd, and Clark that they received. This is just a kickoff meeting. That's about as all as I know. So if you all, we could give you all a summary if you all don't want to attend the meeting to kind of let you all know what role our rural communities will be playing. If not, please still jump on, feel free to speak up because I don't know much about it.
Well, I'm going to speak up for Shelby County.
Okay.
The fact that we were included with no input, we don't understand what it's about, what our role is.
Right.
And I am highly offended as judge that somebody would use Shelby County in a grant without any communication whatsoever to us.
Looking at the invitation, there's 117 people who are invited. So I don't know, how broad, and I don't know the partners in it. So yes, as a judge, you should definitely ask why. So, but we will be there. We can send out a summary to everybody that's on that invitation after the meeting on kind of what it is and where it's going. So,
Alicia?
yes,
Is the tomorrow meeting a Zoom meeting?
yes,
So I think there's only one of them in person, if I'm recalling.
that is correct.
So-
Looking through, there was two or three Zoom meetings and one in-person meeting. And so I think when we provided the contact information, that was under our impression for the Solar for All that we all applied for. And that's why we included the judges as plus the planning administrators on that. But, so that hopefully we'll get another grant for Solar for All, but we knew about that one.
All right. Any other KIPDA staff have any, Mick, you got anything?
Yeah, transportation, the big news out of there is, there's a $500,000 federal railroad administration grant that was awarded to assess the viability of passenger rail service, between Louisville and Indianapolis. And there was also a separate grant, study between Indianapolis and Chicago. It's a partnership with KIPDA, Louisville Metro Government, Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Indiana Department of Transportation, and the city of Indianapolis. The assessment's going to include potential stations, the level of frequency and speed, the estimated ridership, and any infrastructure improvements to make the route car competitive. Hopefully this will lead to passenger rail service returning to Louisville. The previous Amtrak passenger service to Louisville ended in 2003.
All right. Thank you, Mick. Is that all from KIPDA staff? Okay, let's move on. County updates. Judge? Huh? Doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'm here.
You're good to go.
Okay, all right, county updates real quick. Judge Bates from Henry County?
Yes, sir. Everything's going good. We do have some grants in the works as far as for sewer and water, which is a good thing. And we have got the 146 project, which I bring up every month or every time we meet, it's going well. And, they, are getting ready to move all the traffic, I think, onto the new part, and then they've got to do a little bit more adjusting, but getting ready to start milling the old part up, and so that's going well. Their completion dates mid-summer of 24. So that's all going good. We're still working on some funding for Pendleton Sewer Project. We were supposed to have a meeting at 10. I had to cancel that to tomorrow with the engineers that they've been doing the core drilling, that kind of thing. So they're getting down to the fine tuning of that, so we can get that bid out. And we got 181 homes coming into imminent. They've already started building on those. I think water meters is being a problem right now, just getting water meters delivered. But so that's going on. We got a lot of good things going on in our county. We have several distilleries that are building and adding to and that kind of thing. So it's going good in Henry County.
Okay. Is anybody else from Henry County got anything to add?
Jason or Mike may want to say something else.
I don't have anything to add.
It's good to see you guys, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on then. Trimble County, anybody from Trimble County have anything to
Yes.
add?
Things are fine, thankfully. We do have the potential to get the methane capture online soon at the landfill. So I personally am excited about that one and look forward to that being expedited if at all possible.
All right, thank you. Spencer County, Judge Travis?
Yes, thank you. The city of Taylorsville provides all the water in our county. And then the only sewer, basically we have one package plant that's independent, but all the other sewer is only in the city of Taylorsville. So as far as the county and city expanding, we have to get water's plentiful. We're in good shape on water. Those projects are going along well with the city. The sewer is a whole nother animal that we're trying to tame. as far as making it readily available to economic development. We've got a lot of interest in activity coming to town, coming to our county, and we're trying to get on the same page with the city on how we can expand the sewer to accommodate these businesses that want to come to town. Our county doesn't have distillery regulations at all in our zoning. We didn't take part in, for whatever reason, of storing or having distilleries and so forth. All the counties around us have, but we're looking about adding that into our zoning regs. I want to make it as friendly as possible because it's a good opportunity for us, and that's some things we're working on. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Let's move on to Shelby County. Judge Ison.
Well, we continue to work with zoning and planning on appropriate land usage. We've extended our land usage plan. We have some, I think, approximately 400 acres that have been asked or up for vote in the city for annexation. We are opposing any change to that land use plan. It is agriculture. We want to keep it agriculture. We have over 1,000 acres currently in our land usage plan for future development. That could be for warehousing or home usage. So we continue in that direction. We're working with the state on the proper Eminence Pike turning lane to be sure the funding is there. It has been surveyed, and we want to be sure the road funding is there so we can get that project started. That's critical to our traffic patterns in the county. So those are the main projects going on right now.
Okay, thank you, Judge. I'll just add real quick for the city of Simpsonville. They're in the final stages of getting the complete rewrite of their zoning ordinance completed by Taylor Seeker Williams. Probably sometime here by the end of the first quarter, early second quarter of the year, that should be up for vote approval by them. Of course, it has to go through the planning commission for a public hearing, but then it would be adopted by them once that hearing is completed. That's all I have from that side of for planning. I got something else later on I want to bring up, but I'll do it under other business. Let's move on to, you know what, Bullitt County online. So Keith.
Yes, sir. How are you all?
We're good.
We're moving right along. We've about got our new EMS building completed in Lebanon Junction. Got a few things we've just got to clean up down there and get that open. That will be an EMS station, but also a training station. We're gonna and lack of a better term, a little clinic in there as well. 3 days a week. U of L South Hospital that's here in Bullitt County will staff that. So we'll have that open, and that should be probably by March. I think we'll have that ready to go. That's what our hope is. We are looking at our comprehensive plan. We're about ready to start that process. We've got it narrowed down to who's going to help us with that, but we're ready to go on that. So we'll be able to look at and some of the questions have come up. Green space, as has been said, we're in the same land use, that type of thing. The big news this week, of course, I'm always looking at roads. One of the things that we had to get done through District 5 to go back to 44 was they wanted to complete some work and get some work started on 480. 480 was started this week with a diamond interchange. It'll be the first diamond interchange in the state, is the way we understand this. I've looked at it to see how it works. It looks a little complicated to me, but it's they've shown some maps. We're going to go out and look at some more. The news media wants to look at this, but that should really alleviate some of the problems on 480 that we have. And again, the construction started on that this week, and hopefully they'll get that done pretty quick so they can get back on 44 and get some more of that done. So that's where we are.
All right, thank you, Keith. Next county or next, community is, I got Louisville Metro, and I know Brian Davis and Michael King are here, so one of you wanna give us an update?
Brian, you go first.
Okay, I'll go first. On the, as far as current planning goes, we're doing our, kind of our annual report stuff right now, putting all that information together. Our applications were down just a little bit, not a whole lot from 2022. So we'll be publishing our annual report towards the end of the month. Also, one of the things that we have been working on here in the office is some development of regulations regarding the Floyd's Fork corridor. As you may know, we've had a regulation that's been in place for about 30 years now, the Floyd's Fork guidelines, DRO guidelines. And so Metro Council tasked us with creating actual regulatory language for properties within the Floyd's Fork Development Review Overlay. Planning Commission had a meeting last week. After about 2 hours of conversation, they chose to continue that item to ask us to work with the public and the developers some more to come up with some compromises on a couple of things that people were commenting on. So we're hoping that by the time March 7th rolls around, which is the date that they had thrown out to us, we'll have a regulation in place that can be forwarded on to Metro Council. Felicia and Ryan, I'd be happy once something finally does get approved by Metro Council, I'd be happy to maybe present those items to this board in the future. So just keep that in mind as we go forward.
Sounds good.
Sure. Thank you, Brian.
I'll just add a couple of quick things on there. It was mentioned beforehand about the FRA Corridor ID program. Metro is very excited to be partnering with KIPDA on those efforts. Andy and a couple other KIPDA staff and myself had a call yesterday. So we should be looking to actually get all the necessary paperwork over to the FRA pretty soon and get funding in place and then get rolling on that process. Hopefully this first phase won't take terribly long. And then that will set us up to go after some funding for sort of the second step of the entire process. So very excited about that. We are in process of starting the 2 raise grants that we were awarded. So the Reimagine 9th Street project, which is a design build. That one should be starting the public engagement component here probably mid-February. So if anybody's interested in that, please let me know. The Broadway raise grant that we received, which is a planning grant, we're working with the FTA to get those funds secured, which is a little bit more timely process than we're used to. And we are moving along on that. And then just a side note, Keith, there are some of those double crossover diamond interchanges in Lexington and up in Northern Kentucky. They're far more intuitive in person than they are on paper. So don't be afraid. And that's all I have.
Thank you, guys. I think that includes the counties that are present. I think the only other one was Oldham, and I don't see anybody from Oldham in attendance. So we'll include the updates from the counties. And our next is a guest speaker from the city of Jeffersonville, Chad
Reichel.
Okay, Chad Reichel is the Director of Planning and Zoning, and he's here to give us some information on Jeffersonville and what's been going on over there. Chad, it's all yours.
Sounds good. So my name is Chad Reichel. I am the Director of Planning and Zoning for the city of Jeffersonville. I've been with the city since 2016. I have been the director since November of 2019. I put together a little presentation here today. I've kind of taken this as, building Jeff. This is the title of our newest comprehensive plan, which we just completed this past summer. This, of course, as any comprehensive plan, sets forth the primary vision for our city. This planning effort was a year-long effort spearheaded by city staff and done in conjunction with TSW and Yard and Company, who helped us out with a lot of the public engagement activities. It was really an exciting process. We had not undertaken a comprehensive plan since 2015, and there was a lot of changes that have occurred in our city since 2015. So it was really time for an overhaul. One of the things that's really driving that comprehensive plan is just residential housing and population growth. along with the commercial growth and industrial growth in our city. Right now, we're looking at a very robust housing pipeline in Jeffersonville. There are almost 800 new single-family dwellings and over 1,200 apartments at some phase of the pipeline right now. A lot of these are under construction. Some of these are just getting started. But really pushing our population from where we're sitting right now at about 50,000. We feel like we will probably be anywhere in the range of 55 to 56,000 by 2030. So some pretty robust growth in Jeffersonville right now. Apartment growth seems to be slowing just a little bit, but we're starting to see an uptick in some more of these residential subdivisions and really seeing an uptick in some of the smaller lot infill development throughout the city. Developers and contractors taking acre lots and dividing them into 4, or taking, some of these smaller lots, even in our downtown area, cleaving them off, dividing them in half, and creating some kind of exciting sort of missing middle housing, I think, if you will, in our downtown areas. Drivers of this growth, we have continued job growth, especially in River Ridge. I think this is it's facilitated by ease of access thanks to our new Ohio River bridges. I think you see here on the top, Canadian Solar just announced that they're building an $800 million solar cell facility at River Ridge. They announced this in October. This is a huge project that's going to come online in the next few years. Kind of another big project driving River Ridge. And then the city has been making considerable quality of life investments as well. Since the opening of the Big 4 Bridge, we've seen a really robust resurgence in downtown Jeffersonville, new restaurants, new shops and activities, etc. But the city has also been really active in helping to increase arts and cultural programming in the community. And we've invested pretty heavily in what we're calling the NoCo Arts and Cultural District. It's one of 9 recognized arts and cultural districts in the state of Indiana. It includes a new a community art studio, includes a number of sculptures and murals, and I think we have a picture here of our depot space. It's kind of an outdoor concert and market space where food trucks can pull up. We can have concerts and activities. This winter we had our ice skating rink there. It's kind of a fun and funky art venue in downtown Jeffersonville. We've also recently made a number of investments in some new parks and recreation spaces. You see down here, this is Chapel Lake Park, a relatively new 115-acre park facility. It's one of the first parks in Jeffersonville north of 265. We've built a couple other parks in the past couple years, and have started talking about some trail connections from local communities to these parks and sidewalk infrastructure to make sure that those connections are available throughout our city. We've also made a number of infrastructure improvements in the last decade, including widening of Veterans and Holman's, widening some sections of 10th Street in Jeffersonville, which has really kickstarted and some of the commercial development that we're seeing in town right now. Of course, infrastructure is never done. So we are currently undertaking a number of projects in Jeffersonville. I think the biggest one that we've got right now is Charlestown Pike and Utica-Sellersburg Road, a combination of 2 roads kind of on the outskirts of Jeffersonville. These, are kind of your typical country roads, 2 lanes, no shoulders, no infrastructure to be spoken of. But of course, development has proceeded on either side of these 2 corridors. and it's getting sort of thicker and denser every year. So we are undertaking a $17 million project over the course of the next 4 to 5 years to widen and improve Charlestown Pike and portions of Utica-Sellersburg Road. Recently, we widened another road that was in the area, Shungate, as a I don't want to say precautionary, but as sort of a precursor to getting started to Charlestown Pike. Shungate, once we close and start improving Charlestown, Shungate will be an important detour route. And so we wanted to make some improvements to that detour route before we got started on the big project. There were a couple spots on Shungate Road that were only about 16 feet wide. So making sure that that whole corridor is 20 feet wide and a little more accessible to traffic that's going to be detoured off Charlestown. We're also working on New Chapel Road. This again is another narrow country lane that's surrounded by development. This is a much smaller project, but just trying to widen and improve sort of the link between Gotthard Parkway and where there's a number of commercial developments and the residential subdivisions to the east. Our mayor has also made sidewalk improvements a commitment of his organization. And so we recently allocated money to complete a section of sidewalks along Allison Lane, along Utica Pike from Allison Lane to the Port of Indiana. This is the last section of Utica Pike that is without sidewalks. So you will now be able to walk pretty much from the Port of Indiana all the way to downtown on sidewalks on Utica Pike. We're also in the just barely initial stages of talking about improvements to Spring Street through our downtown. It's a pretty significant endeavor. We did a master plan back in 2017 for the Spring Street corridor. We did a little bit of construction back in 2019 on a section in the Claysburg neighborhood, which really turned what was a kind of dilapidated through street into a really nice multimodal segment. That segment is really the precedent for the whole corridor. It's sort of sitting there all alone in its nice multimodal state with bike lanes and group sidewalks, sort of waiting for the rest of the corridor to progress. But we are working with council to fund this project. It's about 9 blocks running from the Ohio River up into the Claysburg neighborhood. It is probably a $4 to $5 million project when it's all said and done. We are also trying to figure out how we might create some funds for some of the local business community who would be impacted by potentially closing portions of Spring Street so that we can rebuild that corridor. Of course, we're always planning for the future. And I wanted to talk about 2 projects two planning projects that were recently completed in our neck of the woods. The first one up here, of course, is pictured right here. This is the Jeff Boat property. This is an 80-acre property that was former manufacturing hub where they manufactured steamboats and then barges and all of that. So closed down in 2017 and it's kind of been sitting empty there for some time. City of Jeffersonville went in half and half with American Commercial Barge Line and put together a master plan for this site. We coordinated with OHM Advisors and the Wheatley Group to undertake a master plan for the 80-acre site. The master plan, which was recently completed, shows a possible $1 billion investment in the city of Jeff. It's 1 mile of riverfront. It's a pretty amazing piece of parcel of land. And probably the most riverfront property you're gonna find anywhere, in the United States today. So, it constitutes a mile-long extension of the Ohio River Greenway, which is exciting for our city. It also helps us to upgrade Market Street, which then becomes Utica Pike. This is really a gateway street to our downtown, and we hope that that becomes a multimodal, walkable, bikeable corridor that engages with our downtown and connects this development with the downtown. There's also the potential for a 1.5 mile rail to trail conversion through the midtown areas of Jeffersonville. American Commercial Barge Line owns the railroad track that runs from the CSX track down to their facility. And of course, in selling the Jeff Boat property, that railroad would become available as well. So part of this effort will be hopefully converting that rail line into a 1.5 mile trail. Really connects lots of the midtown neighborhoods directly to the river. One other project that I think is really kind of exciting, that I played a pretty significant role in, is a regional trails master plan for Southern Indiana. This is a 6-county regional effort focused on trails. It includes Clark and Floyd counties, but also includes Washington, Scott, Harrison, and Jefferson counties. The Trails Master Plan was put on, or sponsored, I guess, by Align Southern Indiana. This is a regional collaboration of the community foundations from the 5 counties of Scott, Clark, Floyd, Washington, and Harrison. And then we joined with the community foundation of Washington County, or not Washington, Jefferson County, to complete this plan. There has been a lot of talk about regional trails and regional quality of life in Jefferson, or in Southern Indiana for some time. And this was sort of the first opportunity for us to really come together and talk about trails planning. We've got some great trails, including the 56-mile Knobstone hiking trail, which is the longest hiking trail in the state of Indiana. In our region, we have a number of state parks, a number of wonderful trail facilities in some of our local state forests as well. And then including things like the Ohio River Greenway and the Monon South Trail, which recently got funding from the state of Indiana. It is a 76-mile rail corridor that connects New Albany all the way up through Salem and all the way up nearly to Bloomington, but not quite. So when completed, would be the longest trail, the longest bike trail in the state of Indiana. So a pretty exciting project that's in the pipeline. This plan starts talking about how we can start connecting to the Ohio River Greenway, how we can extend the Ohio River Greenway, how we can connect to that Monon South Trail, the Knobstone Trail, et cetera, and create a network of trails that's really an amenity for the region, increasing quality of life in the area and the desirability of people to want to live and work in Southern Indiana. I sit on a steering committee for Align Southern Indiana, and really excited about this trail planning effort. That's what I've got today. Any questions for me?
Has the Jeff Boat property been sold?
So American Commercial Barge Line still owns that property. So they own that property outright. Now that the master plan has been completed, they're looking for a master developer for that site, at which time they then sell off that property.
Will it be a public, private? development more than likely?
There will be, yeah, I mean, there will be public funds. I mean, we've already created the TIF district
Okay.
for Jeff Boat. So there will be public funds available, to help facilitate that development. There will be a lot of public amenities. There's a lot, almost all of that property is in the floodplain of the Ohio. So, development is going to be kind of on the high side of that with a lot of river frontage that's going to be publicly accessible, property. So, there's gonna be a lot of public amenities, and so there will be, public funding helping that spur that development.
Beautiful.
Any other questions?
Where do you get your funding? Where does the city get their funding?
What's that?
Where does the city get the funding for all of these
That's what I
beautiful
was just gonna ask
projects?
you.
Well, we have been very successful in, getting some grant money from the state. For some of this, we have been utilizing, TIP dollars and some of those, those pools of money, to help with some of this stuff too. We have a specific TIP for the downtown, that we've used for some of these economic development projects in the downtown. And then we have some of our corridors around 10th Street and Holman's that we've used for some of these other projects as well, so.
And that Utica Pike, you said there's gonna be a sidewalk from downtown all the way out to.
The Port of Indiana, yes.
How many miles is that? Do you have any idea?
That's a good question. That's probably maybe 2.5,
Okay.
3. So, most of it's already there.
Mhm.
Most of it's already there, but yeah, we're kind of building that last,
It's great.
that last 3/4 or to a mile of sidewalk, so. A lot of the neighborhoods that were built in the 50s and 60s did not include sidewalks, and so we've been trying to strategically place those sidewalks back into the community where we can. I think if you back up to one of the pictures I had in the presentation, one slide back, slide 5. We've also been working to incorporate artwork by local artists whenever we do one of these sidewalk projects. We basically have a sort of kit of parts where we create the concrete pedestal, and then we have an invited competition for local artists to design and build the sculpture for those pedestals. So we've been putting 1 or 2 of these art pedestals in every time we build one of these new sidewalk projects. So it's another way that we're trying to build quality of life and build, some fun and interest in the
Sense of community.
Yeah.
They're part of it.
So you're gonna really have a walking path, sidewalk from downtown all the way to the East End Bridge, really, by getting all the way over into the port.
Barely, yeah, the port would be the port sort of the difficult section, but yes. And then you have to kind of get through Utica too. But yeah, there are one of the things that I talk about a little bit in the comp plan is how do we create those pedestrian bike connections between especially bike connections between the 2 bridges. Because we know people are coming over both those bridges, the Big 4 and Lewis and Clark. But sometimes when they get here, there's not as much connectivity. Got a lot of bicycle activity along Utica Pike. I would love to widen Utica Pike for bike access and bike lanes. That of course would be a huge undertaking, which would more than likely involve buying a lot of property as well. So probably not something we're gonna see in the short term. But I think we have some other opportunities to make connections, especially with the new that rail corridor from Jeff Boat would get us up to 8th Street, which has bike lanes on it already and could actually connect all the way out fairly easily.
Hopefully you'll be successful in that, so we can use that as a template for River Road in Jefferson County, because that needs a lot of help on our side too. Yeah, it's a great opportunity with Jet Boat. I mean, this is the opportunity there. And I think whoever privately would like to invest in that too, there's a lot to take away from that, you know. Both the public sector and private sector will benefit from that property. And like you said, I mean, it's kind of an anomaly with the riverfront property in our country right now. It's probably the biggest one available out there.
Yeah, and I think it offers us an opportunity to complement our downtown with something that, our historic downtown, something that's a little more modern and more, I don't want to say upscale, but something that's a little different, right? You get two different sort of aesthetic experiences in downtown.
I think that's a lot of what the new public want to see, is that kind of where they can still have the historic part, but they have the new part also.
And we're trying to figure out ways that we can, especially since American Commercial Large Line is still in play, we're trying to figure out some ways that we can even celebrate the history of that site within the confines of the open space, whether that's preserving some elements of the facility. There's actually a really beautiful building that's about 300 feet long. It's an ornamental cast iron building that's on that site from the really early 1900s, that really could be used in some really cool sort of way. So.
Well, Chad, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, Chad, really appreciate you coming out.
Glad to see the exciting development and transformation of city of Jeffersonville. I grew up in the northwest side of the state, in Michigan City.
Okay.
You're in more of the southeast side.
Waterfront.
Yeah, two waterfront cities, and you all are doing a lot better job than my hometown. So congratulations.
Yeah, I think, Chad, with just one of the reasons I wanted to kind of get you involved in RPC is just, you know, we have a lot of new judges and folks kind of like looking for some creative ways to use the resources that they have in their communities. And I think that, you know, Jeffersonville is a good example of you all doing that. I know not all of our region is waterfront property and all that kind of thing, but I do think that
Trimble.
yeah.
They're all,
yeah.
Milton's all for.
But especially with a lot of the sort of development that you all have done with, in conjunction with the natural resources, that is in your community, I think that's something that, I've heard a lot of interest from a lot of folks, from our officials and, other planning folks in our region. So, yeah, appreciate you kind of coming by to give some insight on that.
Thank
you.
All right. Our next item is other business. Does anybody have any other business they want to bring up? I have one item I would like to, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had a question. The last presentation, I noticed they were using the storage containers. They were painted up with murals and things on them. Anyone else on the meeting? Do you all have issues using storage containers in your areas, in your counties?
No, just all in Shelby County, it's based on what can meet the building code if it's occupied. And then there's some areas of the community that would not allow steel or even exposed material, but they could use them in other areas. We see them in the ag community. Farmers like to use them as storage facilities. So we've had to address that a little bit. But
What do y'all do about that, Ryan?
We require them to permit them.
But they can't have them, but they just have to have a permit.
Correct.
Outside the setback requirement.
Meet setback requirements for that zone.
We're having that issue in Henry County and.
What about commercial? So not agriculture, but commercial businesses when they use them. That I found the state doesn't, since they're temporary. So we're not at tier 1 yet for commercial, so we use the state. But we do have setbacks and things, so I'm running into people wanting to use them in commercial property, and the state doesn't care. Or that's my take on it anyway.
Yeah, we still address them as a store, as a accessory structure.
Building, yeah.
But if it's Walmart or some other facility that's doing a remodel or something, they're temporary.
So do you make them get a temporary permit for that?
No.
When in
Make sure
Bullitt
it's temporary,
County, we
because everybody
didn't
says
do
they're
permit.
temporary, but they're there
Yeah.
for years.
Yes.
So I didn't know if you permitted a temporary permit to track the length of time.
Yeah, not in the commercial or the industrial area. But we will in a residential, we will permit. These pre-constructed storage buildings. We permit those as well, even though they're not on a permanent foundation. That's what we'll hear. Well, it's movable. We can still slide it over here or take it away or do whatever, but but it still could be a nuisance to your neighbor if it's right up next to their house or their
So
property.
in your county on those portable buildings, do you all send an inspector out to make sure they're anchored and everything, even in residential?
They're not anchored. They don't get anchored. All they do is get placed on the property.
Didn't you say the state said that they had to be anchored?
That's what I've been told by an inspector, that all those portable buildings by state code have to be anchored.
It says you're not tier one, you would fall under that, you would have to anchor.
Right, but we're hopefully tomorrow, Wednesday, we're gonna be tier one.
There you
We're
go.
that's going in front of the planning commission. But the inspector that we're contracting with says by state code that all those buildings should be anchored for safety, I mean, for
They
safety.
should.
Which right now we don't. I permit them, but I didn't even know that until he told me. So,
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I know our building inspectors, whether it's a city or county, haven't, required that.
yeah.
So,
Like I said, I'm really just going by what he told me.
Yeah.
So I don't. But that would be new to us. Like we're not making anybody anything, or we're not at a county level anyway.
yeah, ours are just typically just leveled up on cinder blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They sit there. And hopefully a tornado doesn't grab it, it's all across the
Well,
the street.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, certainly our depot project is designed on foundations, those
Yes.
buildings are welded together, you know, it's.
It's in a floodplain too, so is that
Uh,
that area?
no,
No?
well, it's behind the levee, so
Okay.
it's behind the flood wall, so, I mean, technically, yes, it's in a potential flood area, but yeah. But yeah, those are all built on foundations and welded together and structurally tied to each other, in some way. We do have some regulations, against, having those kind of storage box containers in our, residential areas. We can't use them we put that in our ordinance, that you can't use that as a storage shed.
Okay.
But in the commercial areas, we don't have as much regulation for that, so.
Can it be used as houses?
I think that if you wanted to, I mean, I don't have any rules that say you couldn't, take a couple of them.
Yeah, we don't either.
Weld them together and
Yeah.
create a
That's,
house.
I think that's something we need to look at.
Well, you can. It just has to go through the state building code. Still meet all those requirements. And so, I mean, if somebody wanted to bring one to Shelby County and build a home out of storage containers, they could. They
What if
have to
it's
meet
in
those.
ag though, and they can pass inspections for,
If they were trying to use it as that.
if they're doing it in ag, you don't have to be inspected,
If-
ag
if-
exempt.
If you meet the criteria for that, correct.
Yeah.
Most of a lot of ours are 5 acre tracts, so they don't qualify. Cause they're not,
If they're still building a single family home, it would still have to meet the building regulations, even if it's in that.
if it's on 10 or more acres, it does not.
No, it does not in 10 more acres.
Yeah, 10 or more acres, you're.
So if you own 10 acres, you can bring one in, get a permit, do what you want.
We always
I mean,
inspected it in Bullitt, no matter what, because we would permit it as a single family.
That's what we hear. A lot of counties do different things.
Yeah.
But technically.
If it
under-
was an egg building, a barn, no.
Correct.
And they were using it for egg purposes only. Because we got to where it was, are you gonna store any household items in there? They say, yes, we're gonna permit it.
I mean, even residential homes are ag exempt from inspection.
According to the building code.
Yeah.
That's the complicated thing with planning and zoning. And every county is different.
Different.
That's what we're trying to get. The best of all counties is what we're trying to
But the
And common
building,
sense also.
but Judge, the building code is not. The building code
State.
is the state.
Yeah.
And if you adopt and are going to inspect and have a program, you have to follow that code the way it's written. And there are communities that do not, they massage it, I guess. But unless you all adopted in Bullitt County at the time, did you adopt an amendment? Because you can be more strict than the building code.
Right.
And if you
Sure
say
they
that
did not, no.
you want to, I think you can be more strict in that essence and say, if it's a single dwelling in the ag area, or
It must
10 or
be
more
inspected.
acres, shouldn't say ag, because it might not be ag zone. It might be, just used as an agricultural farm still, but zoned something else. You could adopt a stricter code. And require it to be.
You can always go
permit.
stricter, you just can't
Go less.
make it easier.
So, but yeah, we find that, we hear that too. I know when I was in Elizabethtown in the late nineties, we permitted every storage building came in, had to be anchored down, just like a manufactured or mobile home. And that's what the city required, so. And it was for safety reasons.
What's your square foot requirement for a building permit?
Well, from a zoning permit, it's any structure. From a building permit, it's 200 square feet.
Our ordinance says 15 square feet. So pretty much like a wheelchair ramp, maybe depending on the slope, but, which, you know, we're not chasing a lot of ramps, right, and more buildings.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? I just wanted to bring up one thing and something to be considerate of is, and Brian Davis probably is well aware of this, is House Bill, what is it, 102? Which was introduced in January. What was that, Brian?
102.
House Bill 102, which was introduced back on January 3rd of this year. This is not the first time some language of this sort has been introduced in Kentucky. It's coming out of northern Kentucky, but basically what it's going to do is prohibit any design requirements on dwellings, allowing duplexes, triplexes, and quadruplexes in any zone that allows a single family home. Allowing ADUs, which are accessory dwelling units, by right, permitting subdividing for the purpose of locating an ADU. And then prohibits additional standards on manufactured homes, allows home occupations by right. And that you could not prohibit storing inventory outside of a dwelling. So this is, could be.
That's all in one.
Yes, yeah, it's all in one bill. It's been
Who
introduced.
introduced that?
And I was gonna say, who's introduced it so we'll know whether it's gonna live or die.
Well, I think there's been this language has been proposed before. Go ahead, Brian.
I'll just say that we had our first Kentucky League of City Board of Directors meeting yesterday. And it seems just from the feedback that everybody was providing at that meeting that this bill doesn't have a whole lot of legs to it. So I'd be really surprised if it moves beyond being introduced, just on the reaction that you've seen from some of us planners in the emails that we send out, but then also just from the feedback that I got yesterday. So I don't think we have a whole lot to worry about with this one.
That's good news. Glad to hear that. It says on here the sponsor was S. Doan and D. Grossberg. They're Northern Kentucky guys. People. Yeah. Up there in the Campbell and Canton and those counties up there. So not sure we're at why or what, but again, hopefully you're right, Brian. It doesn't get any traction and it doesn't go anywhere. If it does, we'll have to get more involved in fight because allowing any type of housing in a single family zone is not what we want to see. So
Has League of Cities gone on record opposing it?
So yesterday the board voted to formally oppose that bill. So yeah, they'll be in opposition to that proposal.
that will definitely help. Just want to make y'all aware though, because it could be affecting your counties if something did move on this. So
Appreciate you, Brandon.
And if it keeps moving, you might wanna let us know, we need to start lobbying against it, because I don't think, I mean, that's what planning and zoning's for, is to try to regulate, to the best of our ability of where we want these things to happen.
Correct. That's why you have zoning regs and comp plans, and subdivision regulations to hopefully.
I'll put that on the list for Ethan to give you all an update on every month.
Sounds good. All right, anything else that anybody wants to bring forward? All right, it's not.
Bring one item in that, we're close to bringing our comprehensive plan to public hearing. Revised comprehensive.
Good.
Yeah, great.
Sounds good. Just keep us updated on it. Thank you. We do have a public comment period we have to open up, and I don't think we probably have anybody, but at this time, we will open up the public comment period for the January 9th KIPDA Regional Planning Council meeting. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address the council?
Position.
So since we have no one coming forward from the public, we will close public comment period and we will go back to discussion by the council. Do we have to at this time? I'm trying to remember.
Usually we do at the beginning of the first year, first meeting of the year.
Pretty sure we do. Elect, officers.
It's not on our agenda. Anybody like that?
Yeah.
Okay with us adding the election of officers for the 2024 year for the regional council?
Yeah, I apologize to the council. That one slipped my mind.
So we have a chair and a vice chair positions for the regional planning council. And I currently serve as the chair. I'm trying to remember who's the. Judge Bates, that's right. That's right, we did that last year.
It was your first meeting.
Would chair and vice chair be willing to serve again?
I have no problem doing it.
I don't either, and I would make a motion that we do vote on Ryan, because I think he does a great job at this meeting. And
thank you.
Terrific.
So is that, anybody else have anything they want to add to that? If not, we have a motion to re-elect myself, Ryan Lipke, as the chair of the Regional Planning Council for this year. We'll entertain it if anybody.
And our vice chair.
Already second, Judge Schreiber just
All right.
second.
Are you gonna, I was gonna do that separate.
You're gonna do it separate, okay.
So is there a second on that
Second.
motion? We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I've been,
Is this like 15 years?
no, I haven't been that long. No.
Are you sure?
No, It's only like second or third time. So I've been, so we've got the chair reelected, so now we would need a motion to elect or nominate or continue to have Judge Bates be the vice chair for this year.
I'll make that nomination.
We have a motion by Judge Ison. Do we have a second? Looks like second by Judge Travis. Thank you, Judge. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for serving again as vice chair. We've taken
you
care of that.
just need to
dude.
make sure you make it.
I do, I try. I will. All right, any other business?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, everyone.
Chad, again, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anytime you.
Great